Listening to the new WCEG network on YouTube, WCEG or watch us live on your smart TV, YouTube, WCEG network. I am Aireane Montgomery, your show host of Millennial Talk 2 for the next hour. We're on the worldwide community empowerment group, where we speak life into the community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG talk radio and WCEG network. All right, thank you guys. All right, so this is my first time hosting, so I want to introduce myself. My name is Aireane Montgomery. I am a academic educator coming out of Atlanta, Georgia. I am so grateful to share space with these two amazing Black women. I'm so excited for you guys to really meet them, to come in company with them. And so with further ado, I'm ready to go on and get started. So my first question, since Rosa, you're not here, I'm going to send it out to you. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rosa Ponton, and I am a Spanish professor for Grambling State University and Southern University. I have been teaching Spanish since 2014, and I am teaching fully online, living in Mexico, living my best life. And I'm absolutely loving it. But I am also a whole person. I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I'm a creator. And so it's been interesting to have all of that together.
Thank you for sharing with us. All right, Miss Sandra, please introduce yourself and tell us about your career.
So my name is Sandra Ajimotokin. I'm a senior security consultant in cybersecurity, IT. I've been doing that for the last 7 years. I've kind of bounced around in IT doing being a business analyst, being a project analyst, going into consulting with Ernst & Young and doing risk and technology audits, and now just kind of being solely focused on cybersecurity. Kind of similar to Rosa, I'm also an artist, so I've kind of got the left brain, right brain going on and trying to kind of marry both my, career and, my interests and hobbies and talents as well.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you guys for sharing a little bit about your careers. We're going to go on and get started. So what I really want to know is, Rosa, can you tell me a little bit about your journey that led you to your chosen career?
I can. I actually never really, when I first started school, I didn't think I was going to be majoring in Spanish. I actually went into sociology, and it didn't work for me. But as I was going through school and I realized how much I was enjoying language learning, I got opportunities to study abroad. It kind of just made sense to make Spanish one of my majors. And from there, to be perfectly honest and candid, it was probably the path of least resistance. I have a degree in English as well, and I wasn't prepared to go on and write. So I did what I felt like I could do and went to get my master's in Spanish, which afforded me the opportunity to begin teaching college level courses, which has been a really beautiful thing, being with older students, being able to be with young people who are close to my age, really at the time, and give them a different view of the world. And now I'm so grateful because I have a skill that I will never lose. And it helped me have the life that I have here. So being able to live abroad, work online, and have language skills while I'm here. So that's, I don't know, God brought me here. The universe brought me here. It's just worked out.
Thank you, Rosa. And I'm going to direct the same question to Sandra. Tell me about your journey that led you to your chosen career.
Rosa, I love hearing you talk about your journey because it's very similar to mine. I did not study cybersecurity or information technology or information systems in college. I actually studied economics and international affairs. I definitely thought I was going to go to law school, and I really wanted to work for like the UN or the World Bank or some large like international organization. And, when I got out of college, like I did a couple internships, and, one of them was in the public sector. And I just kind of felt like things weren't moving as fast paced as I was used to. I'm not sure if I mean, I'll chalk it up to just being a millennial, but I decided I just kind of wanted to take a look at what the industry could offer. So my first job ended up being in IT. And from then on, like I just kind of learned more and more. And as I went into consulting, my first project was actually like a cyber project. And, I thought it was real interesting. I thought it was cool, especially given that, like the background I came from, it can be analytical if you want it to be, it can be interpersonal if you want it to be. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing with cyber as well. Going into consulting, I love people, love talking to people, love helping people, so I felt like I was kind of like in my element in that space, but then also just like being close to tech enough to where like I can speak to it, know about it, kind of have conversations and, help people along with it, but not necessarily to where I'm kind of in the weeds. So I kind of just found myself being like a little bridge between, people and technology and being able to utilize both of those skill sets. So to kind of round it up, like it was something I kind of really just fell into and just kept going with ever since.
I find it to be very interesting. Similar paths in the sense of I really didn't know that I was going to be an educator, and I didn't know the extent of how I was going to embrace education within my philosophy, my life philosophy. So my question to you guys is, at this moment, and either one of you guys can jump in and say this, at this moment, how satisfied are you in your career at this time? How satisfied are you with your career?
I'll jump in. So I'm at a shift in my career, and I feel like when I moved completely online and was no longer in the classroom, and I started living life differently and having different opportunities to explore other potential career paths that come directly from myself and not necessarily under someone else or for somebody else's company. My perception of my job satisfaction has changed. I think at one point I was kind of frustrated. I love working for HBCUs and things like that, but I do have small programs, money is always a factor, and sometimes that pull between traditional and what's happening now can be difficult to manage, as I think you both have encountered. So I think for a while I kind of felt dissatisfied with just the day-to-day processes and some of the maybe cultural things associated with my job. However, now in seeing what I'm being afforded, I'm a lot more satisfied because I have time and I have flexibility that a lot of people do not get to have, which allows me to express who I am in a more full way. So I'm pretty satisfied now because I can handle it. I set myself up now. I'm good. That's how I feel about it.
Sandra, would you like to answer that question?
I would. So how satisfied I am, it's kind of like a twofold part. Like, I would say that, I feel like I've been fortunate enough to move up pretty quickly in what I'm doing, especially given that, there's way more cyber roles than there are cyber resources and professionals. But, I'm very much in a space where people don't look like me, from, my gender to my race, even like age as well. So I kind of feel like I'm just in this like little other category. And just at this point, I feel like in my career, I've kind of gotten used to the like, looks of just like surprise or, just like, people just not really expecting you to be there. And so like, it's definitely taken me some time to kind of grow into that in my career and kind of grow into that confidence of like, yes, I'm supposed to be here. Yes, I'm a professional just like you know, like I may not look like you, but I also feel like that's also what adds to the table. So I would say that I'm satisfied in just the ability to grow and the growth that I've seen so far, and just knowing that, you know, this isn't even the end, it's not close to the end, you know, like I'm really just kind of beginning. um, and then I do feel very fortunate to be able to be in a space where I can be remote, you know, like working in IT, especially like during the pandemic, is what really kind of just showed me like, you know, this is really a blessing, you know, because pivoting a little bit, my sister is a nurse, and, you know, like she can never work from home, you know what I mean? And so like I'm able to see that, and I'm very fortunate of that, you know, just especially given that, you know, I don't necessarily always have to armor myself before I walk into a meeting or anything like that. You know, like I'm able to kind of be comfortable in my own space. But I would like to see myself be able to participate more in the actual, I guess, community affairs of, you know, my different industries. You know, like I've someone that's always kind of been like very like community driven. And even though like, you know, IT and, you know, community, like they really do go hand in hand, but it's not something that you see advertised very frequently. You know, I would just really love to be able to just be able to pour back into the community in whatever ways that I can, especially from an IT perspective. But, you know, I've always kind of worked from whether it's like social or artistic perspective. So it's kind of like figuring out a way to kind of blend my career into that as well.
Absolutely. It's something interesting about millennials in the sense of we're not just going to pick one career. We think it's very important to utilize all of our talents, and we really had to become very creative since we think about 2008 and the stock market crashing and the Great Recession, and how we came out of college really not even being able to get a job in our field. I remember graduating undergrad and being like, okay, so what's next? This is what people told me, that this is the mark that's going to make me successful. I've dotted my I's, I've crossed my T's. What is next for me? And am I going to have this fulfilling career where I can utilize all of the special parts of myself, and really be able to make a difference in this world? So I have a couple of questions for you guys. So my first one is, I think you kind of hit on it, but I really want to be able to emphasize this more. What are some of the factors that led to your dissatisfaction in your career at this point?
I'll say my factors for dissatisfaction. Well, when I was working in PWIs, predominantly white institutions, I had really good experiences with like support of my coursework and what I was doing. However, I think being at a certain level in academia, and being like behind the desk instead of in front of the desk as a student, I was able to see a persistent issue of just unfair treatment and like racism that I wasn't really expecting. I think going to Virginia Tech, I don't know why I didn't expect it. It's Virginia, but it was a very real thing where teachers of color were actively working to get recognized for their work. And it was kind of disheartening to think like at that point, you're still having to fight to get recognition for the articles that you're publishing, for the research that you're doing. And when I moved to HBCUs, my dissatisfaction kind of shifted to, it's still racism, but it's how we view ourselves and how we view, you know, the students. I started to get just not discouraged, but it made me angry that at an HBCU where I feel like I should not have any problems when it comes to the whole race thing, right? I'm at it with my people. We still have a problem with ourselves, and we still are sometimes functioning out of a generational trauma that does not allow us to take care of our students at times. We're not doing what we need to do for our children and recognizing them as whole human beings in like a very difficult time. So it's still kind of a struggle with that, and trying to change the perception of the student professor relationship and bridge kind of like the age gap like Sandra was talking about. There's an age gap and there's not an understanding between, I have a better understanding because I'm closer in age to them, but there are people who are 50, 60 years old, they don't have this connection with, a lot of them don't have the same connection with the students. So hopefully trying to model and impact a better way of engaging and having more student success, because it's going to equate to student success. So those would be my things in both environments.
Sandra, how do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's funny because like I feel like a lot of the issues that we deal with as just like, you know, Black people and especially Black women really just kind of seem to translate into like different arenas, different industries, you know, because like we know that racism exists and we know that it sucks, you know, but I don't think that people necessarily talk about just how large and consuming it can be, you know, especially with the microaggressions and just having that just add and add and add and add to the point where, you know, it feels like another job in and of itself having to kind of carry that. And then, you know, I can imagine, Rosa, you know, you trying to also help students navigate that while dealing with that in your own world, helping them navigate it through their world, but still having to teach them at the same time. You know, like it's a type of duality that we're made to live in that we don't necessarily really kind of like talk about or address. So it's like, you know, I'm being compared to, you know, someone that it's like being compared to someone that's, or comparing two people that one works one job, another one works three jobs, you know, and you're wondering why they can't be as efficient. Well, if this one has, you know, they're juggling all these things, it's not the same experience. It's not the same perception. It's not the same anything. It's not, you're not comparing apples to oranges. And so I feel like I kind of deal with, I feel like that's what leads to the biggest dissatisfaction for me at work. It's just like kind of looking up and seeing that no one really looks like me, or very few people look like me. Because this is the first time I think I've worked with another Black woman in security, and since I started, to be honest. So it would, my job would be, for me, I think, significantly easier if I was able to just feel more comfortable, not feel like I'm an outsider, not feeling like I have to go above and beyond to kind of prove that I'm here, you know. And, you know, I know it's not in my head because I've literally been told this. Like when I first started my career, it's like, oh, you're a diversity hire, you know, and it's kind of like, I went to a top university, you know, I got amazing grades, you know, like I did everything right and then some, just to come here and be seen as a diversity hire, because it's all going to be reduced down to what I look like, not what I did, but what I look like. So if that wasn't a factor, I think that I would definitely be able to flourish a little bit more instead of feeling like having to kind of hold this heavy weight with me while also trying to go about my daily activities, if that makes sense.
It does.
What's so interesting is, and I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to read this book, it's one of my favorite books. It's called Sister Citizen, all right, by Melissa Harris Perry. And she refers to this analogy about Black women sitting in a crooked room where you just don't fit. You're always like off kilter because of where you sit at in the intersection. So this is going to lead to my next question. And anyone, it's up for grabs. Whoever wants to feels in their heart and they want to talk about it. Do you believe your work environment experiences are unique because you are a Black woman?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. How about say, Sandra?
When you think of cybersecurity, you know, you think of like a white dude in a hoodie and just like in front of a computer, you know, like you don't even visualize a woman, let alone a Black woman, you know what I mean? So it's like you're trying to fight really like 2-3 different battles, you know. And I look around and there are a few people that are my age, you know, and then there are a lot of people that are more seasoned. And so it's kind of like if I didn't look the way that I did, I think that, or if I looked more like what I see in the room, I think there would be a sense of commonality that kind of joins people and kind of leads to like empathy and understanding, that I don't think I necessarily receive, so like if I'm walking into a room, I'm thinking about just like something as simple as like a happy hour. I walk into a room, I see like Black women everywhere. I'm gonna feel pretty comfortable having a conversation, even if we don't like, we're completely different, we don't have anything in common, there's still that feeling of just like acceptance just from just pure appearance. But if I walk into a room in a happy hour and it's just white men, I don't feel like I don't feel that same comfortability. I don't feel like I'm afforded that same empathy and understanding, and really just like the right to just be. Like, I feel like I have to do extra just to exist, but I can't just be. But if I'm in a room with Black women, like I can just be. I don't have to talk. I don't have to do anything. Like, I can just be. But I feel like there's always just that target of just like different, other, and it sends like a silent little alarm, and you can kind of just feel that things are just a little different. Like, people aren't as relaxed as they might be. And, part of it could just be like me in my head, but at the same time, like I can only speak to my experience. Like, I don't know what it's like for, a white man to be a white man, be in a room with white men and, be able to work. I don't know what it's like for that. I just know that being other, I just know my experience of being other and seeing other and just feeling other, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, and to kind of like add to what you're saying, I think also for me is also the age thing as well. The age thing, having been the younger person, and that adding this level of, I know better than you anyway, you're a kid, you're a kid. So sometimes that has been, this young Black woman, I think is looked at a little bit differently than the older Black woman. And even between Black women, there have been times where, in my experience, and I know you can speak to it as well, where there is a tension because there is a set way of doing things. And being a millennial Black woman coming into this space with a different perspective and different mindset, a different experience, being closer as educators, being closer in age to the kids we're working with, there's a camaraderie there. There's the connection, understanding that I think sometimes can be threatening when children are more receptive to you, when children want to come talk to you, But in the other vein of like being just in the professional setting and outside of my students, I had more of a problem with being a Black woman when I was actually in school. Once I graduated, because I'm working at home, I'm not on campus like that. But in school, I was the only Black person on campus in my program. There was a couple who were virtual, and there were incidents where I feel like it's kind of funny in academia where people will do things to try to like mess you up and will literally try to get you to not graduate. I've had situations where I was targeted and really the person I was a GTA, I had a scholarship, they're paying for me to go to school. And he reported me for something I did not do and wanted me to keep out of the program. And I was the only one that there was an issue with, and to tell other students that I was incompetent or this or that or the other. So it's just, I don't know, academia to me is funny. I think it happens like a lot in the professional workplace as well, like doing little things to kind of like hold up your progress, make, like you said, the microaggressions. I don't consider microaggressions, but we can talk about it later, but making comments, looking at me funny, trying to talk like you think I should talk, or, all these little things. And it's frustrating that you have to kind of be aware and be on guard about people's intentions and people's intentions when it comes. It's one thing to perceive me differently. It's another thing to treat me differently. I think that's where we kind of like, what they're not ready for is the millennial Black woman is not going to sit here and let you just treat me like that,
Right. Yeah. Preach.
this leads to the next question. Have you watched or observed a coworker receive preferential treatment due to belonging to the perceived dominant race or gender group?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, I got stories for days. I think what got me to my breaking point was there was a time where I was in consulting and everything is project-based, client-based. And so I personally believe in, sharing your salary just for everyone to be transparent so you can see that. I feel like it benefits everybody. And so like every time, like annually we get like raises, bonuses, promotions, whatever it is, that's whatever's next. And so I just remember, kind of having similar conversations with people that were in my class, like my years that we all started around the same time. And so I'm finding out that this white male coworker that lost an account, like a whole client, was making more money than me. And, I just remember feeling so frustrated because at the time, like I'm not just, doing my job, I'm also planning all the social events for, our entire group. I'm also, leading the community service event that we've got, I'm doing training, I'm recruiting from my school. It was a lot, and I know for a fact that, he can only say he did one or two of those things. And so, I feel like I'm always looking for a way to stand out. They're always like, you got to find a way to stand out. You got to go above and beyond all this stuff. So, I feel like I'm doing everything I can to go above and beyond, just to find out that I'm not paid equally to someone who not only doesn't go above and beyond, but also has cost the entire partnership money. So at that point, I'm like, there's a lot of justifications that someone can make, for why, this person deserves this salary and this person deserves this salary in terms of workload or whatever it is, but I just don't know I don't know if there's anything they could have said that would have really kind of justified that discrepancy, you know what I mean? And just, if I didn't ask about it, I wouldn't have even known to begin with. And then, kind of trying to push back and get more for what I think that I'm doing. And kind of being told, it's never no, but it's always like, oh, you just need a little bit more time, or you just do, work on one or two more clients, or pull in, recruit one or two more people. It's always like I feel like the goalpost is kind of moving for me, and I'm not able to, be at the golf course and, hit a couple swings with the partner to kind of guzzy them up. Like I just feel like I kind of live in a different world. And so where I'm trying to overcompensate, I'm kind of wondering, well, is that being valued anyways? So what's the point? So, eventually I went out in the market and I found what I was looking for in the role I was looking for the compensation that I was looking for. So it's like, sometimes I could have stayed and dealt with it, like I would have continued doing my job and doing an amazing job because I was a top performer, or I can go to where I do feel like I'm more valued and, where I'm feeling like I don't necessarily see that peripheral treatment based off of just what I look like instead of what I do and what I contribute and the value that I bring.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Has your various work environments overall embraced or harmed you due to your intersectionality?
I'm gonna just jump in and say, can't nothing harm me. Can't nothing harm me. And I really do believe that. And I believe that, being friends with you two as well and knowing you guys, that what may hurt in a moment is only fuel for the next moment. And, we can choose to be in a space where we're not going to take it personally unto ourselves. Like your your evaluation of me, your perception of me, how you decided to compensate me or categorize me really has nothing to do with who I am. And we can obviously see from Sandra's example, it often doesn't even have to do with what I do. It has to do with you and your problems, whatever you got going on. And so when the times when I feel like I have been discriminated against, or I felt like I have been targeted, and it's not just, from the, white in a white school, but even within being in a Black school and working with your own people have still tried to harm my career. And I feel like I'm grateful to be in a space where I can stand up for myself and have a voice. I think it's so important for us as Black women to not shy away from having a voice, because somebody says if you have a voice, then you're loud and you're angry and you're aggressive. And you know what? That's fine. I'm going to tell you what I have to tell you anyway, because it's just a tactic to make me be quiet. And I don't have to accept anything that I don't want to accept, So I will say, no, I'm not. I am embraced. I feel embraced, and I embrace myself. My tribe embraces me. My friends support me. My family supports me. And I'm only going to continue to grow and be more confident and more grounded in who I am, regardless of what people got going on. And then, we just building our own tables anyway. So it don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Sandra, would you like to answer that question?
First, I kind of want to pose a question, like, how are we defining intersectionality?
I'll say my assumption was Black woman, age, a lot of factors.
There's a lot of factors that go into intersectionality. When I think about it, I have to I fangirled and I met the Kimberly Crenshaw last Sunday. She is as fabulous as everybody thinks she is, okay? She is absolutely fabulous. And I asked her, I got an opportunity to ask her, I said, how did you come up with the term intersectionality? And she said, it's doing the same things that you do, student organizing, really starting to look at the different nuances in treatment of different people due to their microcosm. So, your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religious affiliation, if you're able-bodied, just everything that goes on really making you who you are and really your unique experience within society. So I think that is, when we talk about intersectionality, there is so much that encompasses one person. Like, we are all similar as Black, but again, I'm an African American. Sandra, you're a Nigerian woman, okay? And Rosa, you are an African American woman, but you're light skinned. So like we're different, you know what I mean? But we're still all very much, we're similar, but it's very important. I think that I have to say when I talk about Kimberly Crenshaw, the Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, she did a great job really explaining our different nuances, or at least giving us a platform or a phrase to really even get to research and talk about our different experiences.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say, kind of based off that, I feel like my work environment has helped me identify, where my intersectionality is, kind of going back to what Aireane said, like, I am an immigrant in America. I'm a Black immigrant in America. I'm in technology, but I also studied, social science, and, I'm also a visual artist. And, like, I feel like there's a lot of different nuances that make me. Like, it's not lost on me that, I also sound a certain sort of way that make people feel comfortable, that if I didn't necessarily sound this way, I may not necessarily be in my work environment. So I think that my work environment has helped me identify them. In terms of embracing or harming, I think that it's kind of like, it's a little bit of like both. I think that as I've kind of gotten more seasoned and more comfortable and more grown in myself, like I feel like it's been easier to embrace, but I won't lie, like I will say in the beginning, like it was something that I wanted to kind of like shy away from, like I kind of wanted to distance myself from my intersectionalities without realizing that that's what makes me me, that's what makes me unique. And, luckily, I have friends like you guys that constantly remind me anytime that I'm like, feeling down about myself or, not feeling like myself, y'all remind me of myself. You hold up the mirror, you let me know why I'm important, what makes me unique and everything. And so I wouldn't say that the workplace necessarily embraces that, but it gave me the weapons, it gave me the ability to be able to do that, so.
I just want to like jump in and say, because I do want to acknowledge that I wasn't thinking about it. And like Aireane said, like like you said, the way you look, I do think the way I look impacts how I am embraced. And I will say that I have been embraced differently, probably more warmly than a woman who is darker skinned. And I feel like that's always been the case, that people, especially in a white environment, feel more comfortable with me because of the way that I look. And also like sometimes because of the way that I talk. I happen to be that kind of like bright, bubbly person. I'm not a quieter, more reserved person. And so that has made a really big difference. And I have seen like myself, the difference between how people are treated and how I am received. So I think it's important to point it out because it's so problematic. Just because you're nice to me and I'm a Black person doesn't mean it's okay if you're being nice to me because I'm light-skinned and I talk like this and I'm smiling all the time. It's problematic that there's a difference, So recognizing that, yes, Sandra, like identifying those things, I definitely agree.
I love the transparency. Okay. I will say that it takes a lot now. And I just want to set the premise that these are my best friends. And these are the conversations that we share with each other, the tears. And I just knew that you guys were exceptional. And I just wanted the world to meet you guys because, wow, I get to be in company with you guys every day. And I just want to extend my gratitude for y'all. I love y'all very, very much. Okay, I don't want to get emotional, but I really do. And so I'm going to ask you guys to be a little bit more transparent, even in this next question. And I'm going to go first and share one thing that has been burning on my soul ever since this was said to me. And I don't think I've ever been able to get over it. And I think that it does affect really how I view my workplace now. I'm going to share something with you guys. So my question for you guys is, could you give us at least one example of the harm you've experienced in your workplace due to being Black and a woman? And I'm going to go first because I know you guys, I know how it can be so awkward because it's weird. You don't know who is going to see stuff on social media. And I know that I need to stand in the gap for a lot of Black women that are going through the things that we go through every day, but we are silenced or told to be silent because we're other. And so I'm going to break that tradition and I'm going to really talk about it here. There was this one time at school, mind you, I knew this teacher, he's a white male. We have done student groups together, so we've collaborated together. I've known him on a personal level, so I was very shocked to even hear something like this in my presence. And so basically we're in class, this is my co-teacher, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter. He was trying to get an understanding of what Black Lives Matter was. And so I was just, going into my spiel because, as a Black woman, a lot of people are going to come up to you and talk to you about race relations. They don't care that you're also going through your own situation as a Black woman in America. You feel the need to intrude on my life and ask me all of these questions and not give any thought to what you're saying. So mind you, students were in the classroom as well. So I found it to be very interesting. And mind you, I teach at a Title I school that's mainly Black and Hispanic. So he comes to me and he goes, Aireane, I understand, I'm still trying to understand Black Lives Matter, but did you know, do Black people know that George Floyd was a criminal? And in that moment, I was like, I had to pause. I was like, I was shocked. I was like, I mean, did you really just ask me that? Like, I didn't even respond, because I knew my response would have came strictly out of emotion, and it could have been, I could have said anything to him in that moment, but I carried that with me and still carry that with me to this day. There's been situations where our relationship has been severed, and I realized I don't have to play this political game where I need to continue to speak to you. I need to continue to engage you. I need to continue to come in fellowship with you. I can simply choose not to allow my energy to be even interrupted by you, where I do not speak to you. So what I'm going to ask you guys is to please share one experience, if you feel comfortable, about how you've been harmed in the workplace due to being Black and a woman.
Can I go first, Sandra?
Okay.
I'm rolling through the reels right now.
I know it's not a laugh of like we're excited, elation. No. It's not that. This is a laugh of uncomfortability because it's uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Okay, so being a Black woman, I feel like my hair is a very sensitive subject. Not just to myself, but to people around me. And so I'm someone that, I like to switch it up every once in a while, and especially when I was a lot younger, in school, coming out of school. And, I've noticed I don't necessarily switch my hair up as much, and this will kind of go into why. So I worked for a professional services company, and specifically in financial services, so like banks, wealth and asset management companies, insurance companies. So they're a little more strict when it comes to your appearance, and they're still like not as much, but they would still have the like suit and tie and everything, that like prim and proper look. And so there was a day where I do my own hair, and so I did my braids, and they were like pretty long. I was very happy about it, but it was also my first time wearing braids at this job. And so I remember like I came in to my client, and I'm saying hey to the team, and my senior manager is just staring, like she's literally just staring at my hair, like just staring, like the whole day. Instead of talking to me, looking me in my eyes, she's looking at my hair. So, it's really making me uncomfortable because I'm just like, have you never like seen braids before? Like, I didn't really know, like, I didn't really know, like, kind of where to begin. And then, from there on, it's like, okay, there's a time where I'm at a happy hour with these same braids, and, I kind of feel something. And so I look over, and one of my white male coworkers is holding my braid up, just like it's on exhibit or something.
I'm sorry.
And like we're drinking, we're outside of the office, so you're gonna get a different version of Sandra if I see you, holding up my hair. I'm just like, what how would you feel if I just came up to you and just started messing with your hair? Like, that's not normal. You don't experience that. Why would you think that it's okay for you to touch my hair, let alone hold it up like it's on exhibit in front of people, And the last thing with my hair, and this is all in the span of like 2 months, mind you. Another senior manager that I'm like, I knew, but I never really worked with, but I knew him well enough. He was just asking me, like, hey, like, do you like how do you like, do you wash your hair? Like, do you like just asking questions that's kind of just like, I'm like, do you wash your hair? Like, just because it's something that you're not familiar with. I feel like there's a way, if you're not familiar with something, to kind of figure out from genuine curiosity, but then there's also a way of just pointing out things that you're not familiar with just for the sake of pointing it out and letting it be known that this is different from what I'm used to. And it's like, okay, so when things like this kind of happen, I kind of wonder about the intent, like, is this a question where someone is genuinely trying to learn something, or is this an opportunity for somebody to kind of point out or pick on something that's different because it makes them uncomfortable? And I feel like in almost all of these situations, like you can kind of feel the difference between the two. And so my reaction to the two are very different as well. And, there are very few times where, I would feel genuinely hurt by something that the intention is to really just kind of discover rather than call out. So, from just the comments to, the physical nature, just to kind of being exposed and on display in front of people, I would say that would be one of my examples, or 3 in 1.
Yeah. The hair thing, boy. Okay. It just bothers me. Do you wash your hair? Okay.
Like, you're calling me dirty.
You're calling me dirty. Like, yes, I wash my hair, and no, I don't have to take it off to wash it. Like, it's fine. I'm good. It's fine. I don't know. Okay, I guess what I've said earlier, like my biggest example, I think the one that kind of like reminded me, like, even though people treat you different, girl, you still Black. Don't sit here and think otherwise because you're nice and stuff. But it was that professor who was over the GTAs for a semester, and he was a white male. There was only 3 of us: a white male, a white woman, and then me. And it was my first year in grad school, getting my master's of Spanish at Virginia Tech, and we had to do observations, and we had to go to 2 different Spanish teachers' classes and observe so we can get prepared to start teaching the next semester. I was late to my first observation because I got lost in the building and couldn't find the classroom, 5 minutes late. And I think I had another 2 instances where I was a minute or 2 late getting to a class. That's fine, my fault. I was a minute or 2 late. He called me into his office one day and told me he had a problem because I was disrespecting the program and I wasn't taking things seriously. And I'm like, well, I'm not really sure what's wrong. And he's like, well, you've been late to multiple observations. And I'm like, I've been less than 5 minutes late over the course of a semester to 3 observations. And he's like, yeah, well, that doesn't matter. You think that's okay? And I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying, I'm trying to understand what the problem is. And essentially he felt that I needed to, because I didn't see it as a detrimental problem, he told me to go home and reevaluate who I was as a person and to reevaluate my life if I did not see what the problem was or why I was being disrespectful to the program. And maybe a week or so later, I get a call from the head of the department, and I'm up for review to see if I'm going to be kicked out of the program. And he has reported that I was falling asleep during observations. And he said one of the teachers told him, there's only 2 teachers, 2 women, both Hispanic women, that I was falling asleep and that I wasn't, fulfilling my duties as a GTA, and that I was not fit for the program and I should be released from the program, which would cut off my funding that was paying for my school. So I denied it. I'm like, I never fell asleep. I hadn't fallen asleep. I wasn't sleeping. I would have known if I was sleeping. But I went and talked to the teachers and I asked them both. And I was like, please be honest with me. Did you see me fall asleep in your class? I'm going up for review. And they're both like, what are you talking about? We've never been sleeping in our class before. So I don't understand what you're talking about. They had no idea. And he told me that he couldn't tell me who told me because that was confidential between them and didn't want to make that person feel uncomfortable for telling on me. But the reaction I got from both women were both very confused. So I knew I didn't fall asleep. They knew I didn't fall asleep. He knew I didn't fall asleep. But I was on probation. And it came to my attention later from the other GTAs who were my friends that he was telling people that I was incompetent and that I was not fit for the job and that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to, talking to students that I could potentially be teaching, that I wasn't good enough to be in the GTA program. So that was interesting, but I got hired by that school after I graduated and I went back and I came in and he was like, oh, you're back. I'm like, yes, I'm hired. Nice to see you. And I'll let him be mad. And he was mad. So it's fine.
I like it when they're mad. I'm sorry. I think it's something that just keeps me going. So, I want you to quickly answer this question. I think this is interesting because we had a conversation offline about this, Sandra. And I want you to answer too. Do you believe that you can show up to work as your authentic self and be accepted as a Black woman?
Oh boy. Whether I can show up as my authentic self, yes, I absolutely can. Whether or not I'll be accepted, I don't know. I personally, I say I don't think so, which is kind of part of what leads to that dissatisfaction I'm talking about and trying to make myself seem smaller or distance myself as other or from the things that make me, because like I grew up in Forsyth County, which is, known for being very racist. Was on Oprah like twice for it. So, I'm not a stranger to people thinking certain things about me or not accepting me for who I am. Like I'm kind of used to that. I'm used to that being more openly accepted. And so I think that what that did for me is being able to kind of see it in a more muted tone. You know what I mean? And so it kind of brings me back to like my middle school and high school days where, I'm being told I'm not going to graduate high school and I have one of the highest GPAs, just didn't know me from Adam, just assuming that and giving the speech I assume normally give minorities, and just kind of knowing that like, I don't know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to change people's perspectives. So I would say that, I'm working on no longer caring whether or not I'm accepted, because my authentic self is, important enough to be able to be and be present, whether or not someone else is comfortable.
Yes, definitely. I agree. You may not accept it, but I'm at the place now where I'm kind of like, oh, well, say something then. Say something. Like, what are you gonna do? I think that we as Black women, as Black people, sometimes need to get out of that fear mindset of like, oh, we may lose our job or we may this or whatever. Okay, if you fire me, then I will have another course of action, either another job or I'm gonna take course of action. If you fire me unjustly, I want you to say something to me. I want you to tell me why. And put you kind of on the spot because we're so used to being quiet and not making people explain the craziness that they're putting out there. So no, talk about it. But tell me explicitly what's not okay.
You did not lie. So we're getting kind of towards the end, and I want to ask these two questions. I'm going to ask them actually simultaneously because I think it's important to really touch on this. So one of my questions is, have you guys been following the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson Senate confirmation hearing? And what are your feelings that you're experiencing around it? And the last question that I want you to answer is, for all of the Black sisters out there that's looking at us, hey girl, what advice do you have for them to keep going? Really to find their purpose?
Yeah, definitely been following the Senate confirmation hearing. Also kind of seeing comparisons to previous hearings where, you know, certain justices didn't know, you know, our freedoms and everything. But long story short, what I'm gathering from it is that you can, again, do everything right and then some, and still be seen as taking space from someone else, whether or not that person is qualified or not, you know. And I think that what we're seeing now, watching her be so calm and so poised through the disrespect, you know, through the bias questioning, you know, through really the injustice and inequality and the way she's being treated, you know, but seeing her still remain poised, remain calm, still like, you know, never break character, and seeing that being praised, you know, I think it should be praised, but I think it's also part of the problem that we're really just kind of sitting and dealing, you know, with this abuse and having to just keep a smile on your face. And it's very exhausting, you know, and I feel like it kind of feeds and fosters a ground for the abuse to continue, because, you know, it can't really be talked about. It can't really be, you know, called out and really addressed. So when it comes to advice that I have, I think that it's the same grace that we extend to others that might be trying to tear us down. I think we need to double that and give it to ourselves, because I think that as Black women, it's so easy for us to really just kind of give to everyone around us because that's what we've been kind of, you know, trained to do. But, you know, it's hard to kind of give ourselves that, you know, same grace. We're always trying to be perfect, look perfect. You got to say the right thing. You can't do anything that's wrong, you know. And I think that it's okay to be wrong. You know, like it's okay to not be perfect. You know, it's okay to let your character slip sometimes. Just give yourself that same grace and that same love and that same understanding, if not more, because you deserve it. You know, and it's, if we're pouring it out all the time, I do think that we need to pour back in, or we're not going to be able to be replenished.
All right, Rosa.
I want to answer the second question because I'm isolated out here. I've isolated myself, so I don't watch the news. So I mean, don't be mad at me. I'm on a different journey right now. But I think Sandra like made amazing points, especially about but we shouldn't have to keep character all the time, because I completely agree. So all my Black sisters, to my best friends that I love very much, I want you to always, 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 always come back home to yourself and realize that is the best home, and that there's no limit to what that home looks like. And you guys are so amazing and so beautiful. All of us, we all have so much power. We are powerful and we have agency, and we are warriors, and we are soft, and we are everything that we believe that we are. And there's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, we should just not take anybody else's word for it anymore. No more. Follow you, your intuition, your feelings, do what you want to do. Nobody else. We ain't got to go through this cycle no more. Because baby, I'm out here in Mexico, and I'm getting my 5th degree, and I'm about to be an artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to live for me. That's it.
Dr. Rosa, put some respect on her name.
In May, baby.
Expected graduation.
Yes, ma'am.
2022. We are around the corner. Well, thank you guys for sharing space today and really being transparent. To all my Black women that are out there listening, you are loved. I love you.
Yes.
Keep going in your purpose. Know that the universe is going to support you. We're going to support you in any way that we can. Reach out to us. All right. And okay, for the non-Black sisters out there, love us, okay? We don't, yeah. On the backs of us, America was built, okay? So remember that as you move along in your journey, to make sure that you don't overlook us, you don't underestimate us, all right? and Kataji, girl, we root for you, girl. Okay. Well, thank you guys for everything. And we are done.
I love you.
All right, love y'all very
Thank
much.
you.
I hope that you
Thank
guys
you.
come back to the show soon. And we will be wrapping it up. Great show. How do y'all feel?
That was
Thank you, girl. Thank you, Aireane.
We